Welcome to Oh My Gods, episode 1. We, again, like everything else, are going to be going alphabetical order. So today we start with Abadar, otherwise known as the Master of the First Vault. This artwork right here is taken straight from the Gods of Magic book, as was the key in the first slide. In terms of the realm, this here is just a picture of a first edition rendition of Abadar, or what they believed he looked like. In terms of the realm, he is going to be in the Atkan realm. Again, very lawful realm. In terms of his divine allies, other deities he gets along with, this is important for GMs and players to pay attention to. In terms of, if it's a very divine heavy campaign, it's very good to have characters who have gods that, if they get together, they might grant them boons for working with one another, all those kinds of things. We'll get to boons later, so don't worry about that. And the allies we have here: Asmodeus, Brig, Erastil, Yamade, Aurori, Shaylin, Shizuru, and Torag. Now, a lot of people would ask, why the hell would Asmodeus? If you know anything about Asmodeus, he's the Prince of Hell. And we'll get to that, I believe, in the next episode. So, why would the Prince of Hell be in cahoots with Abadar? Well, like Abadar, he is a lawful neutral deity. And he's not, I would say, he's pretty strict when it comes to law. Although he tries to be neutral and see both sides of the equation. Asmodeus is lawful evil, but again, he's very, very detailed in his law as much as Abadar is. And so Abadar has nothing but respect for someone who respects law. So, and with the other ones, like I said, you can go into do further research with that. Otherwise, I'd be here for about 20 minutes. So, the divine enemies of Abadar, for the most part, are chaotic evil deities. So, we have Bismara, goddess of pirates, Lamashtu, goddess of monsters, or the mother of monsters, Norgabur, he's secrecy. I can't remember the exact his title. Then you have Rogug, the god of destruction. So, obviously, again, very chaotic. They have no purpose other than because can, which someone who is very lawful in nature would be completely turned off by someone who lives their life in that manner. In terms of temples, this is one of the only deities that has a bank as their temples, being that he is a god of mercantilism and wealth. Makes a lot of sense that a bank could be a place of worship for him. Maybe you give praise to him when you have your NPCs deposit their checks or their gold they've earned for the week. You could a whole number of reasons. In terms of worshipers here, this is just an image here of what a champion of Abadar might look like, which I think is pretty cool. He's got a flail, but it's a hammer, which is pretty neat. So, with worshippers, we have architects, bankers, and lawmakers. Again, all of these people live very, not necessarily strict lives, but in one way or another, have to do everything in very orderly fashion, and it just has to be orderly. I wouldn't even say necessarily strict, because a lot of people mistake a lawful alignment for strict. That's not necessarily true. It's just someone who believes in an orderly life. So, that's it for worshippers. Next, we have the sacred animal. I can't get behind Paizo on this one as much as I want to. His sacred animal is a monkey. I don't think it fits, personally. But I know some GMs like to have like an omen by being like, oh well, like it's really easy with Desna, because Desna is a big, pretty purple butterfly. You know, it's like, oh, if today Desno wants to tell you that it's going to be a good day, you say, oh, and go ahead and make a perception check for me. And then, oh, you see a purple butterfly flying over the treetops. It's like, oh, that's Desna talking to me. Sweet. Like with Abadar, like, you know, because like a lot of the animals with the deities can kind of be everywhere. Monkey, I don't know how it really symbolizes law, mercantilism, wealth, or cities much. I mean, I guess city performers. I don't know. Never seen a judge with a monkey. That's all I'm saying. So, next, sacred colors. No surprise, his favorite colors are gold and silver, like the things he wants you to have. And, you know, success through Abadar yields wealth. You know, it's one of his domains. So, divine abilities, if you're using the gods of magic backgrounds, are constitution or intelligence, and then a free one. So, again, that's only for using gods of magic backgrounds. So, keep that in mind. Alternate domain, aka domain that's not in the core rulebook, that is available in the Gods of Magic book, is duty. And again, more of that in the Gods of Magic book. So, next, the overview. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go paragraph by paragraph. I'm going to read this from the Gods of Magic. We're going to go paragraph by paragraph of his description / overview. And with that, essentially I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to give a little review or how I would use this as a GM or things to look out for, etc., etc. Okay. Abadar is worshipped as the god of cities, law, merchants, and wealth. Abadar's cathedral banks are found in many cities and places where order thrives or is gaining a foothold. Aristocrats, city guards, merchants, and those working in legal practice or who have the well-being of their community on their mind are common worshippers of the god of cities, along with dwarves in general. Abadaran priests living in cities often serve as judges, lawyers, and clerks, while those who live on the frontier work as roving magistrates, acting as judge, jury, and executioners in the name of order. So, for this, a player, essentially what this is pretty much telling you here is GMs, you have a player who wants to be a lawful alignment, but doesn't really kind of, like, you know, might be interested in Abadar, doesn't really know if they want to try at it. The barrister background, a lot of people don't take in consideration. It's a really cool background because a lot of people don't, or a lot of players don't understand the value of legal lore. Because let's think about it. In just about every campaign I've either played in or GM'd in my over 10 years of experience, players do a lot of unlawful things or things that are, again, against the law, whether they mean to or not, which is the craziest part. Having someone who's trained in legal lore can go from wherever they're going, you know, any place they go to. They can go to a town hall, a city hall, a court of any kind, and they can say, "Excuse me, can I use my legal lore to get to know the laws and regulations of this land? So in case, I don't know, our rogue does anything stupid, we can cover his ass," you know? So, definitely, consider legal lore. One of my players in my current campaign, Randy, who's playing Dama Falco, a tiefling. Granted, he worships Asmodeus, but you know, if he was from anywhere but Chiliax, he would have worshipped Abadar. He's playing a barrister right now, and the legal lore is wonderful because, you know, again, it's much harder for the players to slip up and offend somebody if you have someone who knows just how to get the general knowledge of legality and stuff like that around here. So, anyway, next paragraph. Abadar is the keeper of the first vault, a divine trove that holds the perfect vision of every type of creature and object. The vault is home to the perfect longsword, the perfect shield, the perfect songbird, the perfect hammer, and even a perfect law. His followers do their best to emulate these perfect forms in their own way, whether through crafting a work of art, raising strong and healthy livestock, or passing laws that best serve the people in a community. So again, here you don't even, again, just because, it's typically a lawmaker, typically, as we can see here, you can just be a farmhand. You can have a farmhand background, some sort of artist background. And, as long as it's to better yourself through in some form of wealth, or not necessarily attempting perfection, but trying to get there perhaps one day eventually, as long as you seek betterment of oneself through offering up something of value to gain more value. So the Holy Book of Abadar's Worshippers, the Order of Numbers, commands his followers to build cities and settlements where there are none, to work hard and trade in pursuit of wealth, and to follow the law while doing so. If a profession is a lawful part of society, it is ordained by Abadar. As such, those who work at the behest of government often pay homage to Abadar, as do others who directly benefit from the rule of law and trade. Naturally, those who oppose the law or actively work against it, such as thieves, criminals, bandits, and pirates, are enemies of the church and society, as Abadar sees it. Despite this, some heretical factions of Abadar's worshippers twist the words of the orders of number for their own purposes to pursue wealth over all. They justify their criminal behavior with the holy words of order and wealth, while subverting the rule of law on technicalities, undermining law-abiding institutions. So, 2 key things to take away from that. 1, the Order of Numbers, his holy book. If you are a cleric or a champion, I'm sorry, you got no excuse to not know your deity's holy book or teachings or creed. You got no excuse. All you gotta do is go and Google that shit. So, boom, that's number 1. Number 2, as you see, it's not even necessarily about expansion. Again, it's not about always making a city bigger. It is about, in a way, teaching how to settle more effectively. Now, obviously, you have to be tactful and aware of the situation and whether or not that society would want that. If you go over to a small village and you're like, Abadar believes this should be a city, and they're like, we're fine, man. Like, we don't need a big city to be happy. Abadar proclaims you will grow and expand this into a city. No. Again, GMs, explain this to your players too, want to take up the reins with Abadar and all that. They have to be cognizant of whether or not, just because typically Abadar would say, oh, you're considering expansion of a city, I'm 100% behind it. Abadar knows better, and the player knows better than to not, again, like a heretical faction, taking the words into your own interpretation in terms of bending and twisting them to whatever you need them to be. I'm not saying law is attempts to be black and white, but again, if you're doing some messed up stuff just to try and twist it to whatever technicality you need to be, check yourself before you wreck yourself. So, next, as the god of city and laws, Abadar is a stern but just master. He rewards those who work hard and looks down on those who cheat the system for their own gains. Abadar understands that not everyone gets a fair deal in the world of mortals, but he encourages his clergy to support laws that are as equitable as possible. Believing that trade should always be fair and that no price offered can ever compensate the entirety of a creature's life and labor. So, even Abadar knows not everyone gets a good hand at the poker table of life. Unfortunately, sometimes you get a 2 and a 7 when you're playing Texas Hold'em poker. That's the worst hand you can get in Texas Hold'em poker statistically. And Sometimes it just sucks, but Abadar knows that. Again, Abadar is about the pursuit of law, the pursuit of wealth, the pursuit of bettering settlements around you, or if they need to expand, to help them expand. So keep that in mind. Next, clerics of Abadar labor to help their communities grow and flourish. They seek to aid in the passage of effective laws and encourage bringing order to places where it is absent. When ministering to their congregants, clerics wear robes of white silk and accents of gold to show the wealth of their church. Temples dedicated to Abadar are fortified, as they often serve double duty as banks, moneylenders, and currency exchanges. Despite this practical purpose, these temples tend to be highly decorated, commonly featuring elegant architecture adorned with gold and stained glass windows. Not much to get from this section, other than, of course, like you see here, picture on the right, we have what most likely be a cleric of Abadar. I'm not sure you can really see the key on his neck, but that's the Abadar symbol right there, and he kind of has a little key action going on his hip there. So the pure white silk, the gold, or the pure white, the golden silk color, again showing that wealth. And what's most important here is it's not what I would call like a nana boo boo, like look what I got, you don't have it. It's through your showing of wealth, others inspire to be like you and seek help, and you help them get where you are. It's kind of a pay it forward system ish, so again, up to GM there. So players give it to GMs give it to players on that. But very important to kind of go over that stuff. So, the Church of Abadar in Avestan feels it must charge for its divine services in tribute to the god of merchants, but his servants seek to handle matters of public health and safety quickly and without requiring payment. Priests are also encouraged to strike out on business ventures as a holy duty to enrich the church. These holy ventures often put members of an individual church and those of neighboring churches in competition. Such competition is seen as healthy and often encouraged. However, church law forbids clergy from harming one another, including during warfare on behalf of opposed nations or kingdoms. As a result, Abadarans often act as neutral negotiators between warring nations, for a fee, of course. So, what's to be gained of that? The Church of Abadar, again, he's lawful neutral, meaning that he brings law, but it's to make sure not that it benefits everybody, but it's kind of I hate to say don't pick sides, but it's a standardized law, no matter where they go. And those that would employ those laws with those banks and things like that understand, at least the higher ups of those settlements, understand that Abadarans will abide by that law, even if it means, how I put this, even if it means that when they go to war with another nation, like I said, an Abadaran cleric, if they're in Ustalav, if they're next door to Lastwall. This is second edition. Let's say it's Old Chiliax and Ravanal. If they go to war, if there's an Abadaran church in the northwest area of Chiliax and the southeast area of Ravanal, those clerics will not attack one another. Because again, and it makes sense too. That'd be like having a U.S. Army post, let's say in Germany, and Italy attacks Germany for God knows what reason, and they expect the U.S. Army post in Italy to shoot at the U.S. Army soldiers at the Army post in Germany. That just doesn't make sense. They wouldn't do that. So that's really all that's saying. So anyway, again, kind of it's common sense here. Through the order of numbers, Abadar teaches his clergy that following the law leads to wealth and comfort, and thus happiness. He teaches that discipline leads to keen judgment, which turns leads to favorable deals, whether they relate to commerce, law, or other types of negotiations. While Abadar encourages the expansion of ordered society, he rejects hasty action and advises caution in all things. Abadaran clergy pass these tenets on to their congregations, teaching the lay folk about trade and commerce as a system for happiness. These teachings also impart the ideals of fairness and following the spirit of the law, while still respecting the letter thereof. One of the church's most important lessons is the value of cooperation between citizens, as community is paramount to the health of a town and kingdom. However, they also recognize that self-interest is most individuals' strongest motivation to increase their own standing and wealth. So, what is to be gathered from this final paragraph here? What is important is the Abadarans wish to teach that community wealth supersedes self-wealth, but at a base level, one has to be willing, in terms of self, want to pursue that wealth, and then also realize they're part of a bigger picture by making their community stronger. But again, obviously, they don't expect everyone to be perfect. You know, no deity expects any mortal to be perfect. Even the deities in Pathfinder aren't perfect. They're far from perfect, which makes them really awesome, in my opinion. But that's a video for another day. So, again, they teach community. If a community... Again, I'll look at it this way. If you've ever seen Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, he challenges one of his buddies, oh my gosh, Little John. He challenges Little John to take an arrow and to snap it. Now, most people in the world can snap an arrow, a wooden arrow. It ain't that hard. A wooden recurve arrow. You just snap it. It takes about like 4 pounds of pressure to snap an arrow. But what he does is then he takes his quiver and he hands him 20 arrows or something of the sort. And he goes, all right, Little John, I want you to go ahead and split all 20 arrows. And he can't. And that's in general, if you took a plank of wood that thick, there would be a lot of people that could snap that plank of wood. But what he's going to show there is community equals strength. Most people cannot take 20 or 30 arrows and break them all. It requires such an immense amount of strength. Most people, again, just can't do it. And again, the point there at the end is community equals strength. Doing everything alone, even if you're doing well at it, if your community is suffering for it, come on, like, it's not even like give everything away, and it's not about like, oh well, just dump all your wealth. No. Take the teachings of wealth you've gained, or what has gotten you there, and teach it to others around you. So that concludes the overview. Next, we have the boons. So I like this picture here. Again, like they said earlier, the dwarves are worshippers as well, just because dwarves love law. So, love the shield, the Abadaran shield, pretty cool. So we go into the divine intercession section, where we talk about the boons of Abadar. The first boon, which is the minor boon. In terms of boons here too. As far as I know, it's not really clear what levels the boons are meant to be granted at. If you're a GM who's interested or wanting to learn about boons, there's 2 methods you can use. You can use the 5, 10, 15 method, or I like to use the armor potency rune levels. 5, 11, it's supposed to be 18. I go 5, 11, 17, because 17 is when you, again, like they're really taken off, like they've done like world-changing events, things like that. So anyway, with the minor boon, the first one we have here is Abadar warns his favorite against those who might unfairly take advantage. Once, when someone rolls a success on a deception check to lie maliciously to you, and you alone, you alone, they get a critical failure instead. Abadar typically chooses to grant this boon in response to an extremely consequential lie. And this is a minor boon. And this happens one time. So, GMs, pay attention to it. And it's not once a day, GMs. Once. Yeah, and you could choose to grant it again and again. It's up to you. So, moderate boon. So, again, around that level 11 level. Abadar blesses all your enterprises, leading to financial success, as all your ventures always seem to work out. If you roll a critical failure when you try to earn income, you only get a failure instead. If you roll a success to earn income, you earn twice the amount of normal income. It doesn't say anything about critical success, but because it says success, I as a GM would rule, especially if they roll super duper duper high, give them the double the income on critical success. I mean, it's really cool. Really cool, because then you're like, man, this dude makes money. How do you make all this money? Well, the teachings of Abadar. Here's your order of numbers. Be sure to return to the library, that is me, of knowledge. Booyah. So, next, we have the major boon. Your silver tongue is infallible, allowing you, oh, by the way, level 17-ish. Your silver tongue is infallible, allowing you to reach a compromise if one is even remotely possible. Once per day, you know just what to offer to make a deal or broker a negotiation. And if you offer your divinely inspired deal, you can automatically receive a result of 20 plus your diplomacy modifier on your diplomacy check instead of rolling. So take 20. You literally just roll 20. This does not increase your success like rolling a 20 would, however. If there is legitimately nothing you could offer to reach this agreement, you learn that and you do not expend your daily use of this boon. So, I don't mind it. I think it's okay, because at that point, like, adventurers at level 17 in 2nd edition are going to have so much money. Not that they'll be necessarily swimming and bathing in it. But when you're at that point, like, being able to just say, hey, it's pretty cool, because, like, again, they're already superhuman. You reach superhuman level about 15, or even like level 11-ish in terms of like your physical capability. In terms of your, like, especially like divine capabilities or like things like that, you're beyond superhuman at level 15. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that this person who has probably been running a business, or if you use the organization variants or subsystem from the GMG, it would not be unreasonable to think that this person would be really damn good at his job and know what the hell he's doing. Probably owns a business, maybe two at this point. So let him roll. Let him just go. Boom. 20, boom, 20 every however many days of downtime, especially at that high level. May not have that many downtime days left. So for him to be able to just roll, he or she might get 1 or 2 uses out of it at that late in the campaign. Let him have some fun with it. So next we have curses. Not that this woman looks like she's afflicted by a curse or anything, but this is just a neat idea for like a ranger-ish or a rogue of Abadar. Hey, could be a thing. So, think outside the box. This is 2E. Rogues don't have to be steely, stabby. Get big brain. Mastermind rogue here, using that brain. All right. So, minor curse. Anytime you steal, illegally harm, or kill another creature, you undermine a law-abiding officer or court. A symbol or word describing your crime appears on a visible spot on your skin. This symbol cannot be removed or hidden with makeup, though it may be covered with clothing. And it doesn't vanish until you make a legal restitution for the crime, such as by serving your sentence. Now, I'll go ahead before we head into moderate boon and moderate curse and major curse. My opinion as a GM in terms of curses, there are only two sets of two types of deities that would give you a curse. One, your own deity would give you a curse, and that's because if you claim to be a cleric of Abadar, you go around stealing, Abadar's gonna be like, the fuck? And he's gonna be like, yeah, marked. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, so with that, the other deity that might give you a curse, so would be one of your deity's enemies. So if we go back to divine enemies real quickly here, Besmar, Lamashtu, Norgabur, and Rovagug. Now again, to put a caveat on that, that would be if you were, I would give you a minor curse from one of these deities if you were, let's say, a cleric of Abadar, and you came against followers of them, and you were extremely, how do I put this? You dealt with them in a way that Abadar wouldn't necessarily agree with, even though he knows that they're your natural, like they are not only his enemies, but his followers would also technically be his enemies. So like if an Abadar, let's say you found a cleric of Norgabur, you exposed them for the treachery and secrets they held, and they were unlawfully assassinating to gather information, and you found them. But your guy took the law into his own hands because he saw you as he's a Norgabur cleric, and he just like gores them. First of all, if you're a cleric of Abadar, you believe in a fair trial. You're not going to take the law into your own hands unless it's purely self-defense. Like, how do I put this? If you didn't have to do that to defend yourself, and you had all the opportunities and all the methods, and there was you had the capability of taking him to trial, and you were like one with Abadar, or in terms of like you were a follower of Abadar, and you went out of your way to punish them. Again, that's taking the law into your own hands. Abadar would be pissed, and so the way I kind of see this, or the way I'd see this is, Norgabur would get extremely upset and go again, and kind of influence you for going over the top, because the deities understand that their followers are going to clash. That's going to happen. That's just going to happen. But as long as we're it's not even that, like, again, you like, oh, Abadar, I have to be nice. No, like, you fight, that's fine, but again, if you're being extreme or over the top unnecessarily, again, GM discretion there, but be fair, then yeah, I would say Norgabur would be like, oh yeah, guess what, deal with that bitch. So anyway, moderate curse. Abadar curses all your enterprises, leading to financial disaster, as all your ventures always seem to fail. The result of your check to earn income is always one degree of success worse than the one you rolled. Which, again, like if you're up here at 11th level and this easy one here, I am a follower of Abadar, and yet you run a dirty business, like funded by the Cesarni, aka the Mafia, what I call the Mafia of Pathfinder. Like you're out here running a dirty business or laundering money and all that stuff, and you've made it all the way there. Abadar's gonna be like, you know what, man? Nah, like, you're pissing me off. So, anyway. Next is the last but not least in terms of boons and curses, we have the major curse of Abadar. You become honest to a fault. You constantly suffer the critical failure effect of the Zone of Truth spell. Additionally, you are always offered the worst possible option in a bargain. Now, make sure you know that because that player if this player were to receive this curse, which is pretty rough, if this player were to receive this curse, their character, you need to, or you as a character, or you as a GM need to make sure you understand your character would not know that it is the worst bargain. They would still think it's a medial bargain, because most people, when it comes to negotiations, start in the middle and then try and work down, or depending who it is, what side it is, try to work up. So keep that in mind. And we move to the Aphorisms. Do not forget about these, guys, as this is primarily for the players, GMs, depending on, again, we already have so much to keep up with, this is predominantly for the players here, so GMs, kick back, relax for a second. So the aphorism, when a mortal wishes to gain the attention of the master of vaults, they can utter certain phrases. So, if you're a cleric of Abadar, champion of Abadar, or you're just a dude, or any fill in any class, that is a reveres Abadar. By Abadar's gaze, the deal is sealed. That's one of your aphorisms. When a negotiation is agreed upon and finalized, the initiating party often utters this phrase to indicate the negotiation is over. This is often shortened by just "by Abadar's gaze" or "the deal is sealed." Attempts to alter the deal after this phrase is spoken is generally frowned upon. So, again, you can use this for NPCs, GMs. But in terms of as players, if you're someone who's trying to barter and all that stuff, like, the deal is sealed then, and again, it's pretty cool. Next one is from Abadar's Vault. This phrase describes a product of high quality, but is usually considered hyperbole. Conversely, saying something is not worthy of Abadar's Vault usually implies functional but mediocre crafting. So again, if you were to say like, from Abadar's Vault, that's like saying, man, looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. And then you would say, oh, that's not quite worthy of Abadar's Vault. It's kind of like, that's a long sword. Not bad. But as a player, I would be kind of cautious on going around calling every NPC's gear mediocre. Might get you in trouble. So, last one here. So it is judged. This is a standard conclusion to official legal verdicts or other court proceedings. Some followers use this phrase when seemingly random events work in favor of what they believe is justice. So it's kind of, what that would mean is, so it is judged. It's probably something you would say, or a judge would say at the end of a hearing or a trial or something like that. And this second uses, when followers use this phrase when seemingly random events work in their favor, it's kind of like guess it was meant to be, it's essentially the same thing. So with that, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me to the end of the video here. So it's kind of interesting. I like how all the different series I'm doing so far have different lengths of videos. So let's see how that works out later on. But again, thank you for watching. I am with Cardinal Adventures here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're already subscribed, because you're an awesome Cardinal. Go ahead and use that Cardinal beak to peck the hell out of that bell, so you know when to stay, so you can stay notified of anything we post here on the channel. Thanks for sticking around, and welcome to the nest.